The next story we're going to be talking about is Jed Spence, and this is from The Guardian. They say that Tottenham could miss out on Jed Spence, with Middlesbrough growing irritated by the lack of serious offer and are ready to sell him to Nottingham Forest instead. But Matt Law has responded to that, saying that Tottenham are expected to sign the right wing back. Still, Jed Spence at the moment, even though the deal's progressing. Obviously, you said before you're not too excited about the prospect of Jed Spence coming in. We know for a fact that Daniel Levy is himself dealing personally with this Jed Spence deal, because the agent of Jed Spence is a family friend, I believe. Do you think maybe this fostering is what's dragging the deal along? Because you think about the deal shouldn't be taking this long with the figures that we're talking about. Are you frustrated by the length, or are you thinking, if we don't get him, I'm happy, we can just move on from it?
Look, there's a few different parts to that question. First of all, I find it strange that Daniel Levy is apparently dealing with that deal, and also he was the guy who was seen at dinner in a London restaurant with Bill Kenwright, the Everton guy. It seems to, and Paratici's over in wherever he's in Europe right now doing something, but we haven't heard much about European transfers of late, apart from the guy we just spoke about, Lenglet. So I find it odd that Paratici is leaving it to Daniel Levy, if it's true that Daniel Levy's taking the reins off, or let go of the reins a little bit, for Daniel Levy to be dealing with these particular transfers. Do I find it odd that Daniel Levy is now responsible for a staggering transfer deal, and they're haggling over 3 or 4 million deal for Jed Spence? No, I don't. But I would point out to anyone that's like who's like, why don't we just get the deal done? It's only 5 million quid or whatever. The difference between 10 million and 5 million is a 50% differential on valuation, which is something to consider. It's not the same as someone like when you want to pay 80 million for a Gvardiol and Leipzig are holding out for 85. It's not the same in terms of a percentage difference. So there is a little bit of justification in my mind, coming from the financial industry, a little bit of justification that if you really disagree on 10 to 15 million quid, it's worth a bit more focus on it. I'm not that bothered about Jed Spence. Listen, I'm happy for him to come in as the second choice, or the kind of the guy we can throw on and see what happens. But like I said to you earlier, Sim, for me, it's a huge lottery ticket, and it may work out or it may not. But I don't want us to have a lottery ticket in the most important position or one of the most important positions for our team next season. I want us to have a world-class player, if possible, in that position. And then if Jed Spence wants to come in and be a utility player to be played where necessary for teams that play a certain way that suits his style, and then see how it happens, fine. I'm all for the transfer, but not if he's the only right wing-back transfer that we make this summer.
Do you reckon it would make sense if we were to buy him and then loan him out and sign another one?
Yeah, that's fine with me. It's fine with me. Yeah, 100%. It's fine with me. Like I say, I watched him. I watched him in the Leicester game. I watched him in the Arsenal game. I thought he absolutely smashed it. I was blown away. But then if you actually look at his stats for Forest in the Championship last season, they weren't spectacular. And we don't know what he's going to be like. Maybe he's a big game player and that he knew the TV cameras were on him during those particular games in the FA Cup and he turned it on. Who knows, right? We just don't know. And that, for me, the fact that we don't know is cause for concern for me. I'm happy for us to sign him if he wants to be one of the options, but not the option. And what worries me more is because Matt Doherty's injury. I've dislocated my knee 5 times when I was younger playing rugby. I guarantee you this. He didn't dislocate his knee, but he had essentially the same injury, Sim. And I guarantee you he will not trust his knee, or at least I didn't ever trust my knee again after the first time. And it went 4 times after that. I just don't think you can know for sure that we're going to see the same Matt Doherty as we did last summer. And for that reason, Jed Spence isn't enough. He's not good enough or exciting enough for me.
I thought you were about to say, for that reason, I'm out, like a Dragon's Den. That's what was coming there for a second.
No, I should have said that in hindsight. I should have said that, yeah.
Yeah, I hear that. I'll bring on the next story, and then we can have a general talk about our wing back situation, because it's about Emerson Royale. This is from a freelance journalist called Sports Pete O'Rourke, and he says he claims Atletico Madrid have submitted a bid for Tottenham defender Emerson Royale in a permanent deal. There's other sources claiming Atletico Madrid are pursuing a loan with an option to buy. In terms of Emerson Royale, he had to be fair to Emerson, he came under a lot of criticism last season, but when he really needed to step up at the back end of last season in big games like Liverpool away and Arsenal at home and things like that, he did actually do a really good job, and he showed maybe what he's capable of. Do you think if we were to let him go and then only have a Jed Spence and Matt Doherty, we might be regretting that decision potentially? Or do you think, you know what, if he's just not right, just let him go?
Do you mind if I let you answer this one first, mate? Because I've got like a bit of a controversial one on Emerson. I want to hear what your opinion on Emerson is first.
For me,
how would you answer the same question?
Yeah, for me, I like Emerson. I think he's underrated. I think that I think he's better than people give him credit for. However, the way Conte likes to play his wing backs, I don't know if he's ever going to be what we want him to be in that wing back situation, in terms of consistently doing things like getting good quality cross in the box, popping up at the back post and things like that. Is he ever going to consistently do that for Antonio Conte, or is he just going to always be quite a good defender who's hard to beat but doesn't really always flatters to deceive in the final third? He was always I think his strength has always been his defending. I don't think he's ever been spectacular in the final third. So from that point of view, I don't know if he will ever fit the bill for Conte. However, part of me also would rather him than Doherty, because Doherty we're just not sure about if he's ever going to be, if he's ever going to recapture that form. And Emerson maybe showed he can be molded into a better player than he was showing at the beginning of the season. But look, if we let go of Emerson, we need to bring one in plus Jed Spence. I feel like if we let go of Emerson, I don't know if I'll be comfortable just going forward with Spence and Doherty. So from that point of view, I wouldn't want to let him go. But as well, if we can get money in for him, and maybe that can improve in our situations, I might be happy with it, because I just don't know if he's ever going to be perfect. So I wouldn't be too disappointed if he was to leave. But what do you think?
Yeah, I feel like I'm the same as you. I feel like a little bit of because I spent most of the season criticising him on the Irish Hotspur channel. I spent most of my season criticising him, and when like Jack Kanicki, for example, initially had he was defending him, and then by the end of the season we kind of swapped, because I feel like come of the hour, come of the man. After the Aston Villa game, when Doherty, bless him, went down, tried to get up, went down again, tried to get up, went down again. And then all of us collectively went, oh, no. Like, now what we're going to do? We've still got 5 games to go, and there's no Doherty. We've got Emerson. But Emerson did a job. He was man of the match in the Liverpool game. He was man of the match in the game before that, in the Brentford game, I think it was. There was moments where you see, oh, this guy is potentially learning, and he is only young. I'm not saying he's that young. A lot of people, who take that position, like, refer to Kyle Walker being loaned out. That was, Kyle Walker was like 20 and he's 23, so it's not quite the same. I do think there's a player there. I'm also going to concede that I got a little bit more love for him than I probably should have when I saw him holding up the flare in the Arsenal game, and that kind of meant something to me. So I feel like I have a bit of a soft spot for him. I don't think he's the complete player. I think he lacks in many areas that are essential to the Conte system. And it's interesting what you say is that you'd rather, like, maybe probably of the two, Emerson or Doherty, you probably choose Emerson to hang around. I don't know. I'm not sure many fans know if they ask themselves deep down. I think it's like a 50-50. Neither option really excites us. Listen, if we can get the money back on Jed Spence, if we can get 25 million back, then we could probably go and find someone else alongside Jed Spence to improve. But right wing backs are few and far. Quality right wing backs are few and far between right now. And I think that there's a player in Emerson I don't know if you saw the comments that he made recently, where he was like, he was referencing how Conte challenged him in training saying that he annoyed him yesterday. He didn't try hard enough, and Emerson was like, "Well, I was dying, I was trying my best." But if you read the comments, it read like Emerson wasn't happy. But if you actually read the rest of the interview, you know that he was saying like he's fallen in love with the Conte mechanism. And I think he wants to improve, and so I think we should give Emerson another year. I think that Doherty is also, I don't know, Doherty's a strange one, man. Like, we spent a year waiting for him to come good. He had 3 good months, really good months, or 2 really good months, and then he got injured, and now we don't know what to come of him. I think I'm probably with you, Sim. I think of the 2, I'd probably stick with Emerson and not Doherty, given the unknown entity of his injury. It's a tricky one, man. It's a tricky one. But if we could get our money back for him, 25 million, I wish him well. I'd send him on his way with a good luck message, because...
Could you make an argument that we're better off sticking with Emerson than getting in Jed Spence? Is there an argument you can make for that?
There's definitely an argument, as long as Emerson would spend the entire summer like with a specific coach on his own, learning how to cross the ball, where they got one of those, like the balls that are thrown out of a machine at pace. He's running at pace, and just 1,000 times a day, he's just learning how to whip the ball in at the things that he's poor at. If there's a way that you could improve, I think there is an argument. I think that Jed Spence is just as much an unknown entity as is an unknown proposal that Emerson could become better at the things he's bad at. So I think there is an argument for that. Yeah.
Be interesting.
Not a strong argument, but it's an argument.
No, it's not a strong one. I can't you that, but there is an argument there. I think, yeah, for me, I don't know. I like Emerson, and especially for how he ended the season. I think he proved a lot of people wrong. But
yeah, 100%.
I guess if Conte's made his mind up, he's made his mind up. But I don't know. I feel like Emerson, in the few interviews he's been talking about, he wants to make history at Tottenham. Ali Gold recently said that Tottenham are willing to listen for offers for Emerson, but apparently Emerson isn't that interested in leaving right now. So if he drags his feet and thinks, I'm going to make a success out of this, you might not have a choice. And I kind of like that mentality. If he really wants to stay that much, that he's willing to say, look, I'm staying.
Not leaving.
Exactly.
I'm not
leaving. Exactly. Then that would be interesting to see what happens next season. All right, the final story we have is just talking about Anthony Gordon. This is from Ali Gold as well. He says Anthony Gordon would be keen on a move to play Champions League football under Conte, but he would not ask to leave Everton if they reject the offer. You said before you're quite excited about the prospect of Anthony Gordon. Would you like us to spend big money on him?
Oh, I'm not sure what big money looks like.
Over 30 million, maybe 40 million, 35 million. Is that something you're interested in?
I'm probably going to get the wrath of people in the comments on this one. I genuinely think that there's an absolute superstar talent. I think he's so hungry. I don't know how difficult it would be to get him out of Everton. He's obviously an Evertonian fellow. I think he even though I'm not sure where he comes from. I think is he Scottish initially? I'm not sure. But
yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
But I think obviously he's an Evertonian in terms of being part of the Blue Army, and I think it'd be difficult to get him. But I think he's an absolute superstar waiting to happen. I've watched him a lot because I've got a good friend of mine who's an Evertonian fan, and I've watched a lot of games with him, and we always talk about Anthony Gordon. I think he's a real prospect, and I wouldn't mind him if the price is right. Once again, it's all about the price. The price is right. If you would compare someone like Rafinha, there's no comparison. But when you factor in the kind of potential and the value, if Rafinha is 65 and you could get an Anthony Gordon in at like 25 million, if you could make it happen as part of a Richarlison deal, if something like that could be done, I think that Anthony Gordon could be that good in a couple of years' time. I'm probably going to get a lot of heat for it, but I'm a massive fan of Gordon, and I'd be really stoked if we could get him in.
The thing for me about Gordon, I like him as a player. I really do. I think he's super hungry. He's got bundles of energy. I think he can take pretty good dribbling ability. Yeah. I just don't see the star quality in him. I don't know what I'm not seeing, but when it comes to like shooting technique, when it comes to crossing ability, these kind of things, his ability in the final third, I don't know. Maybe I'm not seeing it, but I don't see star quality about him. I see him as a player who could maybe become a decent Premier League winger. I don't personally see him becoming a proper star in the Premier League. But I might be wrong. I mean, do you see real star quality when you see him play in terms of real ability in the final third to make a difference?
I think he's raw. He's got a long way to learn, but he's so young. I think he needs to put on a bit of weight. But I remember in the Everton game at home when we beat them 5-0, even in the 85th minute, right? He was chasing back, and he's got like a determination about him, like a raw, honest, I don't know, get up and go about him that you can't buy, like you can't teach either. It's one of those things where you either have it or you don't. And I think he has it. I think he has a love of the game, and he's always going to play for the full 90 minutes. And I do think he's super tricky. I think he's a very tricky player. I think he's got a lot of things to learn. But like I say, if the cost for him was 60 million, then obviously not, right? There's obviously not. There's no value in it at 60. But if you could make it an interesting swap exchange, part exchange deal, then I'd be happy to see him in a Tottenham shirt. Not as a starter. I wouldn't have him start in front of Kulusevski or Sonny or Kane. I also wouldn't have Richarlison do that. But I certainly wouldn't have Anthony Gordon do that. But if it meant that if Bergwijn's leaving and Lucas Moura went and we had 5 guys next season, and the five forwards were Kulu, Son, Kane, Richarlison, and Anthony Gordon, if that came at the right price, I'd be very confident.
Interesting. What about him potentially as a wing back? Would you consider that option? Do you think that that's something that could be? Because I was looking at his stats, and when you're comparing his offensive stats like other wingers, it's pretty poor. When you're comparing him to other wing backs, that's something that maybe at the moment he could be best suited at.
Yeah, his fitness. I remember seeing a stat during the season of his kilometers covered when he plays per 90, and it was phenomenal. So I think you could also factor in he's not going to be he can get forward and move the ball. He's fast, he's quick, he's tricky, but he's not afraid to get back. And we saw that when they came to White Hart Lane. I don't know. I mean, I'm not an expert in what it takes to be a transitional player from a wing forward to a right wing back. I don't know. A lot of people thought that Adama Traore could do it. It didn't make sense to me. But I think that Anthony Gordon probably could do, if you just think about the amount of ground that he covers, the pace he has, and the fact that he's willing to come back and get stuck in defensively as well. Why not? That wouldn't shock me if that was the intention for Conte.
Interesting. We are.
Do you think so? Quickly, sorry. Do you think so?
Yeah, I think he works probably better as a wing back right now than because I think you need, when you're in the final, when you're playing as a winger or forward, I just think you'd need a bit more star quality about you. I just don't see it in Gordon. I see a lot of hard work and effort and stuff like that, but that can only get you so far when defenders are ever getting better and better in the Premier League. And I think as a wing back, there's a bit less attention on you. You can go under the radar into the final third, and you can get a lot more joy, which is why I think you see players like Marcos Alonso getting a lot of joy in the final third, whereas if they played as a winger, they wouldn't have that quality about him. But he's able to show that in the final third as a wing back because there's less attention on him. I think the same could be for Gordon. I don't know. I like Gordon. I think he's a real Everton boy, and I think he's done really well to get to where he is. I just haven't seen that exceptional quality about him that makes me think he's really going to become a star. I don't know, but I think a wing back, he could potentially be a very effective wing back. I really do. So that potentially would be. I'll be more open to that than signing him as an option for a winger. There is a developing story that has just been broken, and this is coming about Yves Bissouma. This is breaking news that Sussex police have ended their investigation on Yves Bissouma, and he has been cleared of any misconduct of the allegations from October. So that's good news for him, and I think that now can probably be put to bed, I guess, from all the talk surrounding that from when we signed him.
Yeah, Brighton are kicking themselves. Brighton should have held out 2 more weeks. They would have got an extra 5 million for him.
Probably. What about this player?
Ndombele.
This is insane.
Oh my god!
Is there any way back for this guy? Look how hard he's training.
Look at that.
Is there any way back for you?
Oh,
What do you think?
oh no! Which way, bro? Which way?
I think there's no way back for him.
Is there?
I think
Look, is he not the kind of player we need?
He is the player we need. He's
he's definitely the player we need, but he's not going to ever be that. Yeah. And on bad boy, someone put football.
He's not the player. He's not the player we. He's not the player we deserve, but he's the player we need.
It's so good. It's so good. Look at that. I'm not sure who he's defending against, but that guy is wrapped up in like
yeah.
He had to go for a lie down after that one.
Yeah, that's about to say, Sean. Yeah, he probably had like an hour kip, didn't he? After that, he had a little power nap.
Ask you this: if he really is, let's say we really can't move him on, and like no one's taking him, what do you do with him? Do you say, "Look, you're staying, and we're gonna use you," or do you put him in the reserves?
All the reports have said that apparently they don't want him anywhere near the squad, and even Ali Gold I think was saying that he'll end up training by himself if he hasn't found a club, which is
how much damage can he actually do though? Like, you know what I mean? Like if he's just part of the squad,
it's his mentality, Sean.
Barely speaks English. Like how
no,
much
but
damage
it's his mentality to the squad. Conte's trying to build a squad who has a winning mentality, right?
Yeah, true.
In the dressing room, you put someone like that who doesn't give a shit about football, right? Or doesn't give a shit about Tottenham, then what does that do to other players around him? It starts feeding his energy. His energy starts feeding into the other players. True. You don't want that bad energy. You want players who are all focused in the same direction. They all want the same thing. They all believe in Conte's. They all will listen to Conte. And Ndombele won't do that. He's proven that he won't listen to Conte. That's why Conte decided to get rid of him as soon as possible in January when he wanted to loan him out. Otherwise, he would have stayed at Tottenham and he would have given him a chance in January.
But for a player, but what it is about him, because like this is a player who earned a big money move to Spurs. You know, we paid 16 million for him back in 2019 because of the quality he had. Like, but surely at this point, like just from his career point of view, the years are going by. You know what I mean? He's just sitting there doing nothing. He's getting benched all the time. Like, is it really just a case of him? He just doesn't care about his own career. Do you think that's it? Like, what is it deep down with him that is preventing him from any manager trusting him for anything?
I just an unhappy person. He's just generally like, you know, you couldn't have asked for more. He's got £40 million in wages over the next 2 years, or whatever the breakdown of his
10 million a year, apparently, isn't it?
10 million a year over a 5-year deal, 50 million quid he's going to earn, and he's just unhappy. You know, like some people are just unhappy generally in life, no matter what options or luxuries that they're afforded to them. And he's someone that's had everything you could possibly. That 99.9% of people in the world would kill to have an ounce of his talent and an ounce of the opportunity, and yet to him, it hasn't made him happy. You know, it's a sad story.
It's not that, Sean. I think he's definitely extremely happy with his life because he's earned so much money and he's still earning a lot of money. I just think he doesn't care about football as much as he doesn't care about wanting to be the best player he could possibly be, or wanting to be the best player in the world.
You don't think he's got mental health issues? You don't think he's just like
maybe, but I just don't think he's got that ambition or drive to be the best of the best, because he's got the talent to be the best of the best. But
there were players that came before him. There was a Tottenham player, Benoit Asu-Akoto, who hated football, hated it.
But he was a professional, though. He always gave his all every time he played.
He didn't have mental health issues. He was like, this is a job for me. I don't love football. But he put his heart and soul into it. People like Danny Rose, people like Ndombele, have all the talent in the world, but just they struggle with whatever's going on.
Danny Rose is different. I don't think you can't. I think Danny Rose had problems, but I don't think it was. He always gave his all when he played for Spurs, but until he had those corrupting injuries that he had towards the back end of his Spurs career, that kind of completely finished him off. And I think that's what stopped Danny Rose staying a bit more at a higher level for a bit longer. But with Ndombele, you could just see it. Like even for Leon last season, he had a couple of good games or some moments in certain games, but as a whole, his consistency is pathetic. And I think that's the same for it's the same for like players like Adel Tarap. Do you remember him? He had all the talent in the world, but he never had application. Ravel Morrison, Another one.
Yeah, but Adel Taarab's now having a renaissance in Benfica, playing really well at the moment.
I know, yeah,
what if?
Sim, what's the difference between a Benfica and a Real Madrid?
Yeah, I know, but what if something really has clicked with Ndombele? There's somebody comes back, he's like, look, I'm going to do everything I can. I'm going to use everything. Would you give him another chance, or do you think he's done all his letters?
Do you know what? I think he's had too many chances, to be honest with you. I think, in my opinion, I think he's had too many chances. Unless if Conte sees a difference in his attitude or his mentality change, there's a complete like 360 or 180, should I say, and he's completely gone the other way. He's like, right, I want to be the best player in the world now, and he's going to give everything, his heart and soul, into being that player. If Conte saw that and he was like, do you know what? I think I can give you another chance. Then so be it. Maybe. But as it stands right now, I don't want him to have another chance. And I don't think any of us are ever going to be able to see that because we don't know what goes on behind the scenes. And I think only someone like Conte and the staff can see that. But
if he comes on as a sub, having the last time he put a shirt on, he got booed off the pitch.
Yeah, he did.
Morecambe. It'd be very interesting to see how 62,000 people received him if he lined up. Like what happened with, was it Hossam Ghali? Who was the guy?
Hossam Ghali. Yeah.
They all booed him, and then Harry Rendon said, "All right, you're not coming on."
Not going on. Yeah.
I think also you got to look at it from how many times has Ndombele said he wants to leave the club. He said it's every window since he's been here, pretty much. He wants to leave. So that to me tells me that's a guy who really doesn't care about the badge. And that's probably another reason why I wouldn't want to give him another chance. If I'm looking at it objectively, I think that's a big thing. You don't want a player who doesn't want to give their all for the badge. And I think you need to deserve your chance to play for Spurs, not just come here for a holiday and think, oh, do you know what, I'm going to get paid big money, I can do what I want. It's not like that. We're a team trying to compete at the highest level.
Could be for him though. He could run down his contract and then just go, you know what, I'm done with football, and then just go and sit on a beach with 50 million quid in the bank.
I think he's still
a McDonald's franchise or whatever he wants.
Yeah, good to
I think he's still joined our highest earner.
He is one of them. I think behind
the he earns more than Sonny does.
We gave him.
What
were we thinking, giving him 200 grand a week?
Madness.
Tanguy Ndombele, that's what we call him.